What if a life depended on your next move and you did nothing? The bystander effect reveals a chilling truth. The more people around, the less likely anyone helps. But the reason isn't cruelty, it's psychology. On March 13, 1964, Kitty Genovese was brutally attacked outside her Queens apartment. A New York Times article claimed 38 witnesses watched and did nothing. Not one called the police. While later investigations showed some did call, the public outrage was immense. It ignited a psychological investigation into why groups fail to act. Social psychologists Bib Latané and John Darley rejected the idea that people were simply callous. Instead, they proposed a cognitive model of helping with 5 sequential steps: noticing the event, interpreting it as an emergency, assuming personal responsibility, knowing how to help, and implementing the decision. The presence of others, they discovered, systematically interferes with each step through 2 powerful mechanisms: pluralistic ignorance and diffusion of responsibility. In a landmark experiment, Latané and Darley placed participants in a room to complete a questionnaire. Some sat alone, others in groups of 3. Soon, smoke began pouring through a vent. Among solo participants, 75% reported the smoke within 6 minutes. In groups, only 38% did, and those who acted took much longer. Why? Participants looked at each other for cues. When no one seemed alarmed, they each concluded the smoke must not be dangerous. This is pluralistic ignorance, the mistaken belief that others' inaction reflects their genuine interpretation when everyone is equally uncertain. As Darley explained, people look to others to define reality. If everyone is calm, you think, maybe it's just steam. Even when people recognize an emergency, the presence of others reduces the personal cost of inaction. This is diffusion of responsibility, the belief that someone else will, or should, step in. In a classic experiment, Darley and Latané asked participants to discuss personal problems over an intercom. One participant staged a seizure, calling for help. When participants believed they were the only listener, 85% reported the emergency. When they believed there were 4 other listeners, only 31% did. The more people present, the less each individual felt accountable. John Darley later said, "The bystander effect is not a failure of character. It is a failure of the situation to make responsibility clear." Since Latané and Darley's pioneering work, hundreds of studies have replicated the bystander effect across diverse contexts, from helping a stranger who drops papers to intervening in a sexual assault. A landmark meta-analysis by Fisher et al. In 2011, reviewing over 100 studies and 7,000 participants, confirmed the effect is robust. The presence of others reduces helping by about 50% on average. But it's not absolute. Key moderators include danger. In high-danger situations like a physical assault, the effect weakens. Group cohesion also matters. Friends help each other more than strangers. Real-world data from Amsterdam's CCTV footage showed bystanders intervened in 90% of public conflicts, but only after an average delay of 10 seconds, reflecting initial hesitation. The bystander effect has chilling implications beyond street emergencies. In organizational settings, it can normalize unethical behavior. Consider Volkswagen's emissions scandal, where engineers and managers collectively ignored cheating on emissions tests. As social psychologist Robert Cialdini notes, diffusion of responsibility allows individuals to rationalize inaction. It's not my job, or someone else must be handling it. This phenomenon also appears in corporate fraud, medical errors, and even online harassment, where the presence of many witnesses paradoxically reduces the likelihood of anyone speaking up. The bystander effect doesn't just prevent helping, it can enable harm by creating a collective silence that perpetuates wrongdoing. Understanding the bystander effect is the first step to overcoming it. Research shows that simply being aware of these psychological traps can increase helping. When you recognize pluralistic ignorance, you can consciously break the silence. If you see smoke and no one reacts, trust your own senses. To combat diffusion of responsibility, single out a specific person. You in the red jacket, call 911. This technique, known as directing the request, dramatically increases the likelihood of help. Training programs in schools and workplaces now teach these strategies, empowering individuals to act. The bystander effect is not destiny, It's a pattern we can disrupt with awareness and deliberate action. The bystander effect reminds us that our best intentions can be silenced by the crowd. But awareness is the first antidote. If you found this valuable, consider sharing it, because understanding is the first step to action.